All right, let's talk about the big one, the 30-mark politics essay. It can feel like a massive challenge, right? Well, today, we're going to build the ultimate blueprint, a step-by-step guide to help you turn all that knowledge you have into the top marks you deserve.
I bet this sounds familiar. You've done all the reading, you know the key terms, you've memorized the dates and policies, but when you get your grade back, it just doesn't feel like it reflects all that hard work. It's a super common frustration, and here's the secret. The problem usually isn't what you know, but how you're using it.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at the core challenge of the essay. Then we're going to crack the examiner's code by understanding the assessment objectives. We'll dive deep into the 3 keys to success, give you a powerful blueprint called the Peel method, map out a winning essay plan, and finish up by showing you the common traps you absolutely have to avoid. Okay, let's dive right in. The very first hurdle is really getting your head around what these big essays are actually trying to get you to do. And here it is. This is the single biggest difference between a pretty good essay and a genuinely top-level one. A decent essay describes what happened. It's like being a reporter, just stating the facts. But a great essay evaluates. It acts like a judge, arguing how and why something matters, and to what extent. That one little shift in your mindset, honestly, it changes everything. So, to make that shift from reporter to judge, we have to know exactly what the examiner is looking for. And lucky for us, this isn't some big secret. It's written right there in the mark scheme. So let's crack the code of what they call the assessment objectives, or AOs for short. Now just look at this for a second. The balance here is perfect. Your 30 marks are split evenly 3 ways, AO1, AO2, and AO3. Each one is worth exactly 10 marks. You see what that means? You can't just be amazing at one and hope it'll carry you. You have to perform well across all 3 to get to the top.
So what are they in simple terms? Well, AO1 is your knowledge. That's the facts, the examples, the evidence. Your job is to show what you know. AO2 is analysis. This is where you connect the dots, explain the how and the why, and really build your argument. And finally, AO3 is evaluation. This is where you weigh everything up and make a clear, supported judgment. So think of it this way: show, argue, judge.
And if you're wondering where to really focus your energy, listen to this. This comes directly from an examiner. It's AO3, that evaluation, that judgment, that most often holds students back from getting those highest marks. This is the battleground where the top grades are either won or lost.
Okay, so knowing what the AOs are is one thing, but really mastering them is something else entirely. So let's break down exactly what you need to be doing to lock in those 10 marks for each of these 3 keys.
Let's start with AO1, your knowledge. The key word here is precision. Don't just say power when you mean sovereignty or mandate. Use the proper academic terms. And here's a golden rule. Every single paragraph needs its own specific, concrete piece of evidence. And, this is crucial, that fact can't just be dropped in there. It has to have a job to do. It needs to actively support the point you're making. Next, AO2, analysis. For this, you need to think like a detective building a case. You're creating chains of reasoning. This leads to that, which then causes this other thing. Don't just make a statement, explain why it's so significant. And this part is absolutely vital. You have to argue for both sides of the question. A top essay is a debate, not a speech. And now for the big one, AO3, evaluation. The biggest mistake people make is saving this all for the conclusion. Don't do that. You should be making many judgments all the way through your essay. Judge your points against clear standards or criteria. Was a policy effective? Was the system fair? Was a government's action legitimate? And you should constantly be weighing arguments. Which one is more important? Which one is more persuasive? And why?
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. That's a lot to remember for every paragraph, especially when the clock is ticking. And you're right, that's why you need a system, a blueprint you can rely on without even thinking. And that blueprint is the Peel method.
This little acronym is going to be your best friend in that exam. Every paragraph follows the structure. P is for point. Start with a clear topic sentence that states your argument. E is for evidence. Back it up with that specific fact we talked about. The second E is for explanation. Here's your analysis, where you explain how the evidence proves your point. And finally, L is for link. This is your evaluation, your mini-judgment, where you link it all back to the main question. Point, evidence, explanation, link. It works every time.
And here's a pro tip to really signal your evaluation. The language you use makes a huge difference. So instead of a simple, flat statement like, "This policy was effective," check out the leveled up version. See how it starts with, judged against the criterion of practicality? By doing that, you're basically putting up a giant neon sign for the examiner that says, I am evaluating right now. They can't possibly miss it.
Okay, so we've got the theory down, and we've got the tools in our toolkit. Now let's put it all together. Let's build a concrete game plan for when you're actually sitting in that exam hall and the pressure is on.
Picture this. The clock starts. Your first instinct might be to just start writing like mad. Don't. The first 6 minutes of your time are the most important. In the first 30 seconds, attack the question. Underline the command words, like evaluate or to what extent. Then, take the next 5 minutes or so to plan. Decide on your main argument, your thesis, and just quickly jot down your paragraph points. A good target is 2 points for and 2 points against the question.
And let's think about it from the examiner's point of view. What makes them read an essay and immediately think, okay, this is a top-level answer? It's these 4 things. Genuine balance with well-developed points on both sides, a laser-tight focus on the actual question that was asked, precision in your language, and finally, examples that are not just relevant, but as recent as you can make them.
All right, we're on the home stretch. Let's talk about what not to do. Knowing the common mistakes is just as important as knowing the right strategy. If you can just sidestep these common traps, you are already way ahead of the curve. Trap number 1 is the big one, description without analysis. I call it the storytime trap. This is where you just tell the story of what happened or list a bunch of facts. You have to remember to always ask yourself the so what question. Why does this fact matter? How does it actually help answer the question?
The next trap is writing a one-sided argument. Look, this isn't a campaign rally where you're just cheering for your own side. A top-level politics essay is a balanced intellectual discussion. You have to explore the counter-arguments with the same depth and seriousness as your own points. It's essential for hitting that AO2 analysis requirement.
Oh, trap number 3, the weak conclusion. You've just written this amazing, detailed essay, and then the conclusion just fizzles out or repeats what you've already said. No! Your conclusion is your final verdict. It's your moment to weigh all the evidence you've presented and then make a decisive final judgment, explaining clearly why one side of the argument is more persuasive than the other.
And the final trap to avoid, vague generalizations. Saying things like politicians often break promises is totally worthless. It earns you 0 marks. You need to be specific. Which politician? Which promise? From which manifesto? Specificity is what gives your argument credibility and power.
So here's the bottom line. Success in this big 30-mark essay isn't about some kind of magic. It's about having a method. It's about understanding the rules of the game, AO1, AO2, and AO3, and using a systematic blueprint like Peel to build your case piece by piece. You now have the blueprint. You have the tools. The only question left is, what kind of powerful, persuasive argument are you going to build?